Okay, so I want everyone to take these notes on the back of their packet. So on the back of your packet, you have that blank sheet that doesn't have any writing on it. So just follow along. I want you to title it Creating Quadratics. Alright, so there's going to be two types of problems. So if you guys want to draw a line down the middle of the paper, the first one is if given the vertex, use vertex form. That makes sense. Sorry. So vertex form of a quadratic is y is equal to a times x minus h to the second power plus k. And we're going to do an example. So let's say the maximum value of g is, is g of -1 is equal to 6. Another point is g of -3 is equal to 4. Now, this is reviewing our function notation. This is encompassing a lot of what we learned before. So this is usually like g of x is equal to something. So what this means is this is actually x. The x value is -1 and the y value is 6. So I'm going to rewrite this. The vertex, because I know that the maximum and minimum values, that means vertex of a parabola. So since this is a maximum value, it's going to be my vertex. And the vertex is -1, 6. So this is always going to be our x value, and this is going to be our y value. And then that means the other point that we're going to be using is the x value is -3, and the y value is 4. So our vertex form, we said, was y is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k. So I know my vertex is equal to h comma k. So that means I'm going to plug in for h and I'm going to plug in for k. My h is -1 and my k is 6. So y is equal to a times x minus a -1 squared plus 6. So I plugged in for my h and I plugged in for, plus 6. My bad. Alright. So now I want to figure out a. In order to figure out a, I'm going to use this extra point. So I use my vertex. Now I want to use my extra point. I have an x value and a y value. So I'm going to plug in for my x value and my y value. So this x value is -3. And my y value is 4. So now the only thing I have missing is my a value. So I'm solving for a. That's the last thing I have to calculate. So -3 minus a -1. That's the same thing as -3 plus 1. So -3 plus 1 is going to give me a -2 squared. -2 squared gives me 4, and I'm just going to write that, instead of a 4, I'm going to write that 4a plus 6. And now I'm just getting a alone, so I'm going to subtract 6. 4 minus 6 gives me a negative 2. And divide by 4. So my a is equal to negative 1/2. So, creating my equation, y is equal to, I know a is negative 1/2, x minus my h, but since my h was a negative 1, minus a negative 1 is going to be x plus 1 squared plus 6. So this is my vertex form if I'm given the vertex. In this example, I was given a maximum value, which means my vertex. So now we're going to go through a problem that doesn't give you the vertex. So if a problem doesn't give you the vertex, then we're going to be using the standard form. Does everyone have that down? All right, so go to the right side of your sheet. If given points, use standard form. So my standard form is y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. My example, I'm going to give you the points 2, 0, negative 1, 0, and 0, 6. All right, so I'm going to make this into 3 steps. So step 1, find c, the c variable right here that I'm talking about. So c will always be the y-intercept. So looking at my points here, since x is equal to 0 here, my y-intercept is 6. So that means c is equal to 6. Now, if you're thinking about this using this equation, since my x is 0, if I plugged in 0 for these x's, they would cancel out. And all I would be left with is c, which if I plug in 0, then y is 6, so 6 is equal to c. All right, step 2. Plug in a point. And that will give you x comma y. So going back to my equation, my general equation, all I know is c so far. So I have y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus 6. So I replaced the c with the 6. And choosing a point randomly, it doesn't matter which one that you choose, I'm going to choose the 2, 0. So that means x is 2 and y is 0. So I'm going to plug in 2 for x and I'm going to plug in 0 for y. So 0 is equal to a times 2 squared plus b times 2 plus 6. So I'm going to simplify this. 2 squared is 4. I'm going to write that as 4a. I'm going to write this as 2b. And I'm going to write the plus 6 there. Now I'm trying to solve for a and b, so I'm just going to subtract 6 so I have all my numbers on the left side. So negative 6 is equal to 4a plus 2b. I can't combine terms here because they're not alike, so I'm just going to leave this as is for now. And I'm going to go to step 3. So now I'm going to plug in the other point. Plug in another point. And the other point I'm going to choose is the negative 1, 0. So I'm starting with my same equation as up here, because I don't know A or B yet. All I know is C is 6. So y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus 6. But now I'm going to plug in -1 for x, and I'm going to plug in 0 for y. So 0 is equal to a times -1 squared plus b times -1 plus 6. -1 squared gives me a +1. So +1 times a is just a. -1 times b is going to give me -b plus 6. So now what do I want to do? Good, subtract 6. So -6 is equal to a minus b. And I can't combine these terms. So now I have 2 equations and 2 unknowns. And you'll notice that these 2 equations are the same equations that we did in our warm-up for solving our system of linear equations. So we could use our elimination method to multiply by a 2 or a -4 to cross things out, and then solve for a and b. So we're going to put a star here and to say C warm-up and we got a was equal to -3 and we got b was equal to 3. I'll just put in parentheses here, system of linear equations. So now we have a, b, and c. So we can write our equation. Y is equal to, a is -3, so -3x squared. B is equal to 3, so plus 3x. And c is equal to 6, plus 6. All right, what